Hey up internet, and welcome to On the Sofa Live. This next story is from The Mirror by Ashley Coburn, Deputy Political Editor. Nigel Farage whinges at polling firm over Reform UK's results. Nigel Farage has accused a pollster of downplaying reform support. Nigel Farage has winged one of the country's most prominent polling firms, claiming it is downplaying Reform UK support. The Reform chief's outburst came after YouGov's latest poll showed the right-wing party, stuffed full of ex-Tories, on 23% of the vote share. It is just 4 points ahead of Kemi Badenoch's Tories on 19% and Labour on 17%. Another survey published this week by More in Common found Reform UK as high as 30%. Meanwhile, Labour was on 22% and the Tories on 19% of the vote share. Pollster JL Partners, however, found Reform had slipped 4 points to 27%. Posting on his X account this week, Mr. Farage said Reform are strong in all the polls except YouGov. They are using bizarre adjustments to suppress the true figures. He also fired off an angry letter to the firm, adding, "As leader of a national party, you will appreciate that my colleagues and I monitor the polling industry closely. You will also be aware that political polling plays a significant role in shaping public perception, particularly on social media." This is just sour grapes on the part of Nigel Farage. He doesn't like it that that Reform lost in Gorton and Denton to the Green Party. He doesn't like it that Reform are losing popularity in the polls, in the recent polling. He just can't stop whinging. He can't stop moaning that people are no longer falling for his are no longer falling for his lies. He can't stand it. And saying that trying to claim that the polls are rigged somehow is straight out of the playbook of Donald Trump. He can't help himself but to copy Donald Trump in everything that he says and does. It's quite pathetic, really. YouGov denied the claims and said its approach uses methodology introduced ahead of the last general election. They added, it better reflects tactical voting patterns, and it accurately predicted the Reform vote then. Anthony Wells, YouGov's global head of politics, explained earlier this week how it changed its approach ahead of the 2024 general election. He said, our post-election review found this approach was substantially more accurate than more traditional methods and was instrumental in making us one of the most accurate pollsters at the 2024 election. He added, we asked voting intention using 2 questions. First, we asked people how they vote if a general election were held tomorrow. Then we asked people to think about their own constituency, the parties standing there, and how they would vote there. It is the answer to the second question that we use to drive our headline voting intention figure. We have found this approach is more effective at picking up tactical voting considerations and how people actually cast their vote on the day, in particular in seats where the Liberal Democrats are in contention. A Labour source said Nigel Farage will attack anyone if it doesn't fit his narrative. Now he's even blaming pollsters. Perhaps his latest ex-Tory recruit, Nadeem Zahawi, who co-founded the company, could lend him a hand with this one. And that's true, isn't it? Nadeem Zahawi, one of his latest recruits, one of the latest people to join Reform, he is he's the one who co-founded YouGov. So maybe Nigel will have some influence with him in changing how YouGov do things, and maybe will YouGov polling will be more favourable to Reform in the future. Who knows? But hopefully, hopefully that won't be the case. Because that is a threat to democracy, isn't it? But I really hope that Nigel Farage doesn't get into office. He's not fit for public office, in my opinion. He's a Trump wannabe. It would be disastrous for this country if he becomes prime minister. And the fact that he's complaining about how the polls are reflecting his and Reform's falling popularity amongst the electorate. They're straight out of the playbook of Donald Trump, and it doesn't bode well if he becomes prime minister. He will do what he can to damage democracy, to shape democracy in his favor. So, I really hope he doesn't become prime minister. But I'm hopeful that won't happen. I'm hopeful that a lot can happen, because a lot can happen in 3 years, and people are already beginning to see through him. They're beginning to see through his rhetoric. They're beginning to see through his lies, and because he and Richard Tice and others and other Reform MPs are beginning to get the scrutiny that they should have been getting for years now. And people are finally beginning to see that they're snake oil salesmen, and that's why that's one of the reasons why they're losing popularity. Their poll ratings are declining. So hopefully, by the time the general election comes around, probably 2029, Reform's popularity would have gone down, quite significantly, and that will be reflected in the polling booths. But we'll see. Watch this space.